Welcome to Visa Spotlight, a podcast by Visa that shines a light on the most exciting developments in the payments landscape right now, while also giving you a glimpse into what the future holds for us all.
Welcome to the latest episode of the Visa Spotlights podcast, where we explore some of the latest trends and developments taking place in the world of payments. As we know, payments are undergoing a huge transformation, driven by changing consumer behavior, advancing technology, and evolving regulation. Payments are becoming not just more convenient, secure, and inclusive, but also more connected, intelligent, and personalized. Joining me today to discuss this in more detail is Godfrey Sullivan, who leads product, solutions, and partnerships for Visa across the Central and Eastern Europe, Middle East, and Africa region. We're exploring some of the latest trends in commerce, the implications for Visa's clients and partners, and some of the innovations and approaches that Visa is taking to stay ahead of these trends. Welcome, Godfrey, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Dan. Fantastic to be here.
Great to have you here. Now, we're going to explore some of the insights and perspectives on trends that are shaping the future of commerce and money movement, and some of the ways in which Visa is working to support our clients in advancing and capturing that huge opportunity that exists. So, Godfrey, perhaps we could start by understanding a bit more about your role and the work that you and your team do here at Visa.
Excellent. Thank you, Dan. So I lead the product solutions and digital partnerships function across the CEMEA region. We have a team of experts that is exploring the latest cutting edge technologies and innovations in the payment space. As you know, CEMEA is a fantastically diverse region. We have incredible opportunities and also lots of challenges for our payment partners. Our focus and goal of the function is to enable the future of payments and digital commerce more broadly by introducing new and flexible ways to pay, exploring how customer experiences can be further enhanced, and working with our many partners, whether these are banks that are issuers or banks that are acquirers, governments and fintechs and all the other stakeholders in the payment ecosystem.
So Godfrey, I know you've got deep experience for over 2 decades of work within the payment sector here across the region. What are some of the trends and sort of big shifts that you're seeing within the industry at the moment, and what excites you about the opportunity moving forward?
It is such an exciting landscape at the moment. I think there's 5 big trends which we're observing across the region. The first of these is around digital identity. It's really important that we can trust the identity of someone who is making a payment, and we're seeing lots of advances in that space, and we can go a little bit more into detail in that as we go through the discussion today. The second one is around personalization. We've been talking about different forms of personalization for maybe 15 years or so. I think the big change now is with the advancements in AI and generative AI, which I think we're going to see transforming the shopping experience. The third one is around flexibility in payments. We have traditionally had a debit card, a credit card, and consumers will make a choice in the payment method they prefer. That's all changing. We're seeing with the advances in new technology, an ability to give customers much greater choice in the way they pay, whether it's in the traditional way, whether it's credit, whether it's installment payments. The fourth one is around embedded finance and making that shopping experience really seamless and frictionless for customers. And finally, the fifth one is around the next generation of sellers. We're seeing the economy opening up to gig workers, social influencers, micro entrepreneurs, and enabling them to effectively take payments from the customers within their country, but even globally is a really important trend, one that we're working to enable across the ecosystem.
Well, I mean, that's an incredible amount of change and very broad areas which you've covered. There's obviously been a lot of progress over the last 60 years that Visa has been operating across the CEMEA region. That's incredibly interesting. And while the digitization of payments continues to accelerate, those are some really big areas we should just talk through, which present enormous change and enormous opportunity for the industry. How are you and your team helping financial institutions, other merchants, other clients and partners capitalize on all of that innovation and change that you just spoke about?
Great question, Dan. Enabling the ecosystem is really quite a complex exercise. What we are doing is upgrading the common infrastructure that enables players across the payments ecosystem to benefit and capitalize on some of these new trends. So we have our program around digital commerce, enabling digital commerce roadmap. And this is the foundations that we're putting in place across the ecosystem. We actually started back in 2018 with the first phase of the EDCR. And this included innovations around things such as contactless payments. Back in 2018, only 4% of transactions were contactless. And we outlined these requirements to enable contactless payments, both on the issuing side and also on the merchant side. And we've seen an incredible transformation for consumers. Everyone sees this today in the ease with which they tap to pay. And we've seen this in the numbers. So as of 2023, 86% of transactions across the region are now contactless. A great success story. And what we're doing now is building on the first phase of EDCR to launch our digital commerce roadmap in its second phase and upgrading the payments infrastructure to capitalize on some of those trends that I talked about. In March of this year, we announced the second phase of EDCR, and this includes 8 requirements under 4 strategic themes. The first of these is faster payments digital infrastructure. The second, integrity of network and ecosystem. The third, cutting-edge risk and fraud management. And fourthly, next-generation consumer experiences.
Fantastic, thank you. As you said, getting the infrastructure in place is so important in providing the foundation for commerce across the region and enabling the tech advancements and this shift in consumer behavior that we spoke to. Perhaps you could just sort of expand on those 4 key themes and the 8 requirements that you spoke about, just to give a bit more flavor for what we can expect and some of the changes that you and your team are introducing.
Absolutely. So first of all, faster digital payments infrastructure. And underneath that, we have a series of initiatives. The first of these, and perhaps one of the most exciting, is around click to pay. The online payment experience is still, frankly, not as good as the offline experience. Offline, you walk into a shop, you tap to pay, the transaction is completed. Online, one is still entering the payment credentials, and it's a slightly more clunky experience. With click to pay, what we're doing is replicating the seamlessness of the offline transaction in the e-commerce environment. And how this is going to work is issuers will embed in the functionality of the card the email and phone number of you as a customer. As you go to an e-commerce website that's enabled with click to pay, you will simply begin to type either your phone number or your email address, and you will be shown the different Visa cards that are linked to those details. The first time it's done, you will have a one-time password to authenticate that it is indeed yourself who is conducting the transaction. And thereafter, every time you go to any merchant that has click to pay, you will seamlessly be presented with an authentication request, which you approve with Face ID, and the transaction is complete. A real transformation. The second important innovation under this broader banner of faster payments digital infrastructure is around contactless ATMs. I recall a couple of years ago when I was in Kenya, in the outskirts of Nairobi, going to withdraw local cash to pay tips to some of the guides. And the ATM ate my card. It's an experience that many of us have. What we're doing to enable contactless payments even more broadly is introducing a requirement to upgrade ATM infrastructure to accept contactless payments. So it's a seamless experience for customers, and we avoid these challenges that have historically been associated with certain ATM transactions.
Another area that you spoke about was the theme around the integrity of the network and the ecosystem, and ensuring that that can be boosted across the region as well. What are the requirements that we're putting in place there?
Processing integrity is really important. It can result in unnecessary expenses for our issuers and for our merchants. One of the examples of requirements in this space is around the Visa account updater. So when one's card expires, this is not necessarily updated on the many e-commerce sites that you may have registered your card. And so what we want to do is to ensure that the participants in the ecosystem have a structured way in which those credentials online can be updated, so that it avoids unnecessary cost and complexity for the many partners in the ecosystem.
I spoke earlier about the importance of trusted and secure transactions in boosting the overall consumer experience. Last year alone, Visa was able to protect from $40 billion of fraudulent transactions globally. You mentioned one of the areas was around cutting-edge risk and fraud management. Could you perhaps expand on this one as well?
Absolutely. So these existing and potential risks are really important for us to mitigate across the ecosystem. One of the themes is around transaction fraud prevention, and this is enabling issuers to receive VAA, which is Visa Advanced Authorization Scores, and Visa Provisioning Intelligence Scores for all the transactions that take place. These scores are based on the latest AI technology and grade each transaction from 0 to 99 and enable issuers to make effective decisions around whether this is a secure transaction or not. Another example is around push provisioning into the Pay's wallets. These are Apple Pay, Google Pay, Samsung Pay. So this is an area where there's actually a great deal of fraud that can take place. And so what we have developed is a set of requirements that enables issuers to ensure the security of the push provisioning when you upload your card details into Apple Pay, Google Pay, so eliminates and reduces that area of fraud.
So each of those areas that you've just spoken around touch on the consumer experience, as well as benefiting the overall infrastructure for clients and partners and merchants. But the last theme that you mentioned was very much around building the next generation consumer experience. What does that look like? And what are a couple of the areas that we're really identifying as being key to continuing to advance the experience that consumers get at point of sale?
It is super important that we continue to upgrade the infrastructure to keep pace with the changing needs of consumers. One really important example of what we're doing is around Visa installment solutions. Many of the younger consumers, specifically Gen Z, are interested in splitting payments into four elements. And so what we're enabling is both at the point of sale, online and offline, an installment solution that enables people to pay in full should they wish. I think that's a really important evolution of the ecosystem. Another example of this is for Visa Direct originators, so that they can send requests to pay communications to individuals, either consumers or businesses, that ask for a particular transaction and enable that transaction to be made through Visa Direct channels. We're just making the overall experience much more customer-centric.
Good. So I think we've covered each of the 4 themes and each of the 8 requirements within the roadmap that's been set out. And obviously there's a lot of very exciting areas that make a great amount of sense in terms of building on the tremendous progress that's underway. How can Visa clients learn more about the initiative and the program and have support in implementing it?
Great question. We are working very closely with our 1,600 partners across the region to enable this e-commerce roadmap. The first point of contact is your Visa representative. that will provide you with a full detail around many of these different requirements. Secondly, we've also prepared an array of communication materials and frequently asked questions that can help our partners get up to speed on these elements. And thirdly, we're providing ongoing support to our partners to make this a reality.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much again, Godfrey, for joining us today. It's great to reflect on some of the progress that's been making, but also discuss the priorities moving forward and the efforts to continue to advance the payments ecosystem to provide that awesome experience for consumers and merchants alike. Thank you very much for joining us today. If you'd like to learn more about how Visa is enabling digital commerce or any of the areas that we've discussed, please look at the description below. Otherwise, look forward to joining you next time.